Hello class and welcome to lesson 3-4. This lesson is one that's probably going to make your parents rather happy. That would mainly be because this is the algorithm in the way that we learned it, your parents and I. So if you look, our learning target is I can add numbers up to 100 using the standard algorithm. So we're taking a look right now at our page, but again, just like yesterday, we're going to tell if my answer makes sense by estimating. So when we're done, we're going to look at our estimate and our real answer, and if they're not close, we're going to go back and check and see. But I first want to point out that in your problem, in your example, we have this. The book wants to teach you a different strategy, but we're not going to learn this strategy. We're going to learn a different one. So I want you to ignore this. I'm going to cover it up right now, so it can't be there, so it's not in our way. And let's get started. So when we're doing the standard algorithm, that's a part of our learning target here. What we need to do first, just like we did yesterday, is estimate our answer. So I'm looking at 148, and in my mind, I'm thinking that's going to round to 150 plus. 59 to me would round to 60. And now I'm going to add 150 plus 60. And I'm just going to count up on my 10s 6 times because I have 6 10s and 60. So 150, 160, 170, 180, 190, 200, 210. 210. So remember, this estimate is here to be able to tell if our answer makes sense. So if our answer is not around 210, then something's wrong. So we got to fix it. So just like we did yesterday, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to stack it. So we're going to write 148, and we're going to stack it nice and neatly. We're going to make sure the 1s are in the 1s and the 10s are in the 10s. So 59 has 5 10s and 9 1s. So I've got that stacked. And this is how we need to get set up correctly. The first thing that we're going to do today is we're going to, a little bit different than yesterday, we're going to add the 1s. So I'm looking at 8 plus 9. So 8 plus 9, well, I know 9 plus 9 is 18. 8 is 1 less, so that's 17. But before I write 17 down, I want us to take a look at the number 17. In the number 17, how many 1s do we have? 7. And how many groups of 10 do we have? 1. So when we write this answer down, we've got to make sure that goes into the correct spot. And we're going to do it a little bit differently. When we write down our answer, we're going to make sure that the 7 goes in the 1s, and this 1 goes in the 10. But we're not going to put it where we did yesterday. We're going to put it up here because we have this extra group of 10. So it's going to go right here above the 4 and the 5. And you might be thinking, like, why does it go above the 4 and the 5? Well, the 4 and the 5, those are both in groups of 10. So now we've got all of our groups of 10 together so we can add them. I'm going to switch colors on purpose. So I did everything in the 1s column in green. I'm going to do everything in the 10s column now in red. So after we add the 1s, we're going to add all of our 10s. And we have this little extra one from our first. So I'm going to do 1 plus 4 plus 5. So 1 plus 4 is 5, and 5 plus 5 is 10. So again, if we look at the number 10, it's 10 groups of 100. So the 0 goes here, and our 1 gets carried up because that's a group of 100. 10 groups of 10 equals 100. The 0 is represented by the 7. This 0 went here, and the 1 went above. All right. Now that we've added the 10s, we're now going to switch over, and we're going to add the hundreds. So I'm going to circle the hundreds column. So in my mind, I'm seeing that there's nothing here, so that's represented by 0. So I've got 1 plus 1 plus 0 is 2. So our answer is 207. I'm going to look now to write my answer down below, 207. And I'm thinking in my mind, is that answer reasonable. And here's how I'm going to think about that is I can see 207. Is that close to 210? And in my mind, I'm thinking, yes, 207 is close to 210, so I'm probably right. Okay, let's take a look at problem 1. This time, I want you to solve this problem with me, why I solve it. So the first thing we need to do is stack it. So I'm going to take a moment. Actually, no, I'm wrong. First thing we need to do is we need to estimate. So 67 rounds to 70. 25 rounds up to 30. If at any point when we're solving this, if you need to catch up, just press pause. 70 plus 30 is 100. So now that we've got our estimate done, now we can stack it. So I've got 67 plus 25. So first, just like we did before, we're going to add the ones. 7 plus 5. 7 plus 5 is 12. I put my 10 from 12 above in the tens and my 2 in the ones. After I solve the ones, I'm going to move over. I'm going to solve and add all of our tens up. 1 plus 6 plus 2. 1 plus 6 is 7. 7 plus 2 is 9. 9. I've got 9 tens, and I can put it in the tens column down here. So my final answer is 92. My last step, what we must do, is we're going to go back up here and check out our estimate, and I can think that 92 is close enough to 100. So my answer is reasonable. At this point, I want you to stop, solve problem 2, and actually also solve problem 3 as well. So you're going to solve problem 2 and 3, the ones that are right here on that page in your math journal. And when you're finished, press play and check. When I check these, I'm going to move pretty quickly. So once you're done, just press play. All right, now that you're done, let's take a moment and solve. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to estimate, and I'm going to round 227 to 230. 386. I'm going to round to 390. You may have a different estimate than me. I could have seen 386 round up to 400. So actually, why don't we do that? Because I think those numbers are a little bit too challenging for me to add in my head. So 386, I was going to round up to 400. So 400 plus 230 would be 630. So we're going to be looking for our answer to be about 630. Now I need to stack it. 227, making sure everything's lined up, plus 386. If you notice, everything's in its correct column, so we're good to go there. Now we're going to add the ones. 6 plus 7 equals 13. Put my group of 10 above the tens and my 1 down in the ones. Next, I'm going to add my tens. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 plus 8 is 11. So I put my group of 100 in the hundreds. I put my group of 10 down below. Now I'm going to move on, and I'm going to solve and add all of the hundreds. So now I've got 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 plus 3 is 6. So my final answer is 613. I'm going to go back up, and I'm going to check. It is 613, close to 630. It is, so my answer is reasonable. If it wasn't, then I should go back and look because I might have done something wrong. So again, now let's move and check problem 3. First thing, estimate. And 481 would round to, I'm going to round that up to 500. And 239, I'm going to round to 240. If you have a different estimate, but close, then that's all right. 500 plus 240, 500 plus 200 is 700, and I just add the 40 on, so 740. Now I need to stack it. So 481 plus 239. Everything's lined up. Starting over here on the right, adding the ones. 9 plus 1 is 10. I put my group of 10 up here. I have no ones in the number 10, so I put my 0 down below. Next, I add the 10s. 1 plus 8 is 9. 9 plus 3, 12. Put my 1 above, my 2 below. Next, I'm going to add my hundreds. 1 plus 4 is 5. 5 plus 2 is 7. My final answer is 720. I'm checking now, is that close to 740? It is, so my answer is reasonable. This would be a good time to make sure your work matches mine. Make any changes that you need to. This was all learning this so that we could do our next activity. Right now, what I need you to do, you are going to stop the video and you're going to grab the extra sheet on Mr. Campbell's desk, my desk. So go ahead and go do that now. So now that you've got this page from the front desk, this is page 86. What we need to do is, if we look on this page, it does say that we need page 272 in our student reference book. So just for a quick review, let's take a look at how we find that. So if we go to Connect Ed, remember we click on Everyday Mathematics 3rd grade. From here, in this right-hand corner, you can see student reference book, so we go ahead and click on that. And then remember, up top here, you can type in 272. That's going to be the fastest way. Click Enter, and we're loading. So you're going to need this page open today when we solve this problem. We're going to use this U.S. road mileage map in our problems. So I'm going to pull this map up, and I'm going to have it here in the background so that we can use it. So let's first take a look at this map. I want to explain how it's used. So if you'll notice, right here is the city of Chicago, where the Cubs just won the World Series. So starting at this dot, we could go off in any direction to any other dot. So if we wanted to find out how many miles it was from Chicago to Louisville, Louisville's right here, we would look at Chicago. Then we'd look at Louisville, and the number that's written in between it on the line is the number of miles. So from Chicago to Louisville is 298 miles. Chicago to Cleveland, I went from this dot to this dot, and the number written in between is 343 miles. Okay? So that's how we're going to use this map to help us answer those problems. So if we look here on this page, I'm going to solve problem 1, and then I'm going to have you solve problems 2 and 3 and submit it Seesaw. So let's take a look. It says here to write an addition number model for each problem. Use a question mark for the unknown. It says then show your addition strategy in the space below each problem. Teddy drives with his mother from Oklahoma City to Des Moines. All right, so we need to first find out how many miles is it from Oklahoma City to Des Moines. So we're going to use our map. Just make this page small for a moment. So Oklahoma City. So I'm going to look around at all these names. I'm going to try to find Oklahoma City. So I know I've got to go to one of these dots. I'm going to find, where's Des Moines? That's Denver. And then I see, Des Moines. So I know from Oklahoma City to Des Moines is how many miles? 546. So we're going to take a moment. And what I like to do in solving problems like this, I'm going to write 546. MI is the abbreviation for miles. So 546 miles from Des Moines to Oklahoma City. And then it says, and then from Des Moines to Minneapolis. So he's got a long trip. Now he's in Des Moines. He's going to go to Minneapolis. So we now need to find out how many miles from Des Moines to Minneapolis. So let's take a look at our map. So we know we left off here in Des Moines, and now we go to Minneapolis, and I can see it's right above it. And how many miles is that? 244. 244 miles. To make this easy, I'm going to go ahead and write my number right there. 244 miles. 244. Then it asks us, we got to figure out what they want to know. How many miles is their trip all the way from Oklahoma City to Minneapolis? So if they traveled 546 first and then 244 miles second, that to me, I'm thinking that I need to add these numbers together. So I'm going to include my units when I write this. 546 miles plus 244 miles. And it said write the number model with a question mark for the unknown. So, and this is going to be the unknown, is our question mark. Now this is where you are going to solve the problem. You can use the algorithm that we learned with partial sums on Wednesday, or if you'd like, you could use the strategy that you learned today. I'm going to use the strategy I learned today, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write an estimate. So I'm going to round 546 to 550, and then I'm going to add 244. That's going to round to 240. So my estimate, 550 plus 240. 500 plus 200 is 700. 50 plus 40 is 90, so 790 is my estimate. Sorry, I went off the page a little bit there. Just like we did before, we are going to stack it. So I'm going to stack it 546 plus 244. And then I'm going to add 6 plus 4 is 10. The 1 goes above. 1 plus 4 is 5. 5 plus 4 is 9. There's nothing to carry because 9 doesn't have any other group. And then 5 plus 2 is 7. I'm going to check well, look at that. My estimate was exactly my answer. So my final answer, it takes from Oklahoma City to Minneapolis 790 miles. Remember that as you solve problems 2 and 3, look back to how I solved them in here. Make sure you're using your map carefully. When you are finished, right now I'm going to have you stop and solve problems 2 and 3 on page 86, the page we just were solving on. When you're finished, please submit that work in Seesaw and then follow the rest of the procedures today for math. Awesome job. Looking forward to seeing your work.